Hi students, yesterday in your first day of e-learning, you should have completed this page of your notebook. So just a quick reminder, as far as e-learning assignments go or remote learning from now until we come back to school, make sure that you open those each day, follow all the directions in order, and do not skip or leave out any task. I will note each day in Google Classroom what information should be put in your notebook, what is going to be for a daily grade. So yesterday, your exit slip was an IXL, and I will put those in the grade book tomorrow. So that assignment must be finished by tomorrow. Also, each day, once you finish all of the tasks that I have listed in Google Classroom, it is very important that you click on the Turn In button, and that lets me know that you have finished all of the tasks for that day. And when I see that you have turned that in, then I will go back and look at those grades like the IXLs yesterday, or I will go and look at your Go Formative work that you did as your bell ringer. So make sure, it is very important that you are reading carefully, following in order, and not leaving any task out. So this notebook page that you did yesterday introduced you to three-dimensional figures. A lot of these you probably already know the names of, but the purpose of this page was for you to look at the three-dimensional figure, name it, and look specifically at the flat surfaces, which are called faces, the vertices, which are the little points, and then the edges, which is where two vertices meet to form a straight line segment. So when you look at the 5 shapes that you see right now on this screen, they're divided into basically prisms and pyramids. Prisms have rectangular faces around the middle or the lateral faces, and then their 2 bases help determine what kind of prism it is. So for example, if you look at this figure, it has rectangles around the middle or lateral faces, and then you see 2 triangles on the end, so that means it is a triangular prism. When you look at the one above it, all 6 faces are rectangles, so this is a rectangular prism. The last 2 on your page are types of pyramids, because if you look around the middle, those are called lateral faces. Those have shapes of triangles. It is the base that determines what kind of triangle it is. So if you look at the bottom, this is a square, therefore it's a square pyramid. The last figure has a triangular base, so this would be considered a triangular pyramid. It has a triangular base and then 3 triangles around the middle. Okay, so by now, if you follow the directions for today's e-learning assignment in Google Classroom, you should have already copied the information on page 79. Now I know that this is a lot of drawing. Your figures don't have to be perfect, but I did want you to do the best you can to draw the net and the 3-dimensional figure that you see, and also you should have named the 3-dimensional figure. So we're going to quickly go through this page of your notebook. If you have not copied all this information onto page 79 of your notebook, then you need to go back and do that first, then watch the video. Okay, so the first 3-dimensional figure that we see is a cube. You should recognize that it has all square faces, and I have labeled for you the length, the width, and the height of the cube, so make sure you've labeled that. Now we know it's a cube because all of the faces are squares, and I want you to pay close attention to this net. Now a net is simply a paper cutout or paper pattern that if we folded it, we would make this cube. And what I want you to notice about this net is that I have labeled some of the dimensions. 7 feet, 7 feet, 7 feet. We know that a cube has all equal faces and they are squares, so that means our length is 7 feet, our width is 7 feet, and our height is 7 feet. So what I want you to do right now on page 79 of your notebook is we're just going to take the dimensions from the net that we see and we're going to label them on the figure. So right now label your length as 7 feet, label your width as 7 feet, and label your height as 7 feet. Make sure you have labeled that onto your notebook page. Okay, your next figure, if you'll notice that the 3 rectangular faces down the middle are rectangles, so that means it's some type of prism, and then you see 2 triangular bases, so this is called a triangular prism. Make sure you have labeled that on page 79. And what we're going to do now is study the dimensions that are given on the net and just transfer them onto the figure. So if you'll notice, the 6 feet right here is pointing to the height of the triangle. Go to your figure and you see height, and we're just going to label it with that dimension of 6 feet. So right now label the height of that prism as 6 feet. Okay, now what you'll notice, there are 2 other measurements given in the net. One is 15 feet. Notice that that is the long distance from this front triangle to the back triangle. So that's going to be our width when we label it in just a moment. And then the other dimension that is given is 5 feet. And you'll notice that 5 feet is one of the sides of the triangle, which would be considered the length of the triangle. So we've already got our height. The length of the triangle, of each triangle, is 5 feet. So if you'll go ahead and label that. And then the width of the triangular prism is 15 feet. Make sure that you have labeled all 3 dimensions on your 3-dimensional figure. Okay, the next 3D figure is a square pyramid because it has a square base and it has 4 triangular faces around the lateral surfaces. Lateral means around the middle. Right now, I want you to study the dimensions of the net, and we're going to transfer those. We're going to use 5 feet, 6 feet, and 7 feet to label the length, width, and the height of the pyramid. Hopefully you should notice right away that this 7 feet gives the distance or the height of the pyramid. So if you will go to your 3-dimensional figure and out beside height, label it as 7 feet. Okay, now I want you to pay close attention to the square part. Of course, we know that a square has equal sides, so if this side of the square is 6, then this one is 6, which means the length and the width of this triangular prism are both going to be 6 feet. If I said 7 feet, I meant 6. So label both of those as 6 feet. Now there are some other dimensions, 5 feet, that are given for this square pyramid, and that would just be one of the sides of the triangles. If you'll notice that 5 feet labels one of the sides of the triangle, so let's just go ahead and add 5 feet to that edge that goes from the square to the top vertex. Okay, your next figure is a rectangular prism, and the way that you know that is it has 6 rectangular faces, and we're going to label these dimensions that you see, 2, 10, 6, we're going to label them on the prism. Hopefully you notice that the longest side is 10 feet, so the length of the rectangular prism is going to be 10 feet, if you will label that now. The width is the distance from this long rectangle to the back, so the width is going to be 6 feet. And the height this small side right here is going to be 2 feet. Now don't worry too much if you don't understand how I'm labeling these. Eventually we will get into finding surface area with nets, and so this is just getting you used to, first of all, identifying the net with the three-dimensional figure, as well as knowing the dimensions. We will eventually find surface area with nets and with three-dimensional figures. Okay, your last shape is a triangular pyramid, and again, study the dimensions that you see, and you should notice right away that the height of that pyramid is 12 feet. So if you'll go ahead and label 12 feet for the height. And because the base is a triangle, and you notice that all sides of the triangle are the same, that would then mean that the length is 9 feet, and the width would also be 9 feet. So hopefully what you have recognized is that all of these three-dimensional figures don't have just length and width like a 2D or a flat shape, but it also has depth or height. So after yesterday's work and with today's work, you should be able to look at a net, which is a paper cutout that we could fold up to make this figure, and be able to determine what three-dimensional figure goes with it. So I would suggest that you study these nets and be able to determine the difference between a prism and a pyramid. So let me summarize that. Remember, prisms will have rectangular lateral, that means around the middle, faces. So if you go back and if you look at this net, there's rectangles on the lateral faces, and it has two triangular bases, so we call that a triangular prism. If you look at this net, you will notice that the lateral faces, the ones around the middle, are triangles. That indicates it's some type of pyramid. And then when you look in at the base, it is a square, therefore it is a square pyramid. And the last net, the lateral faces are these three. They would be around the middle when you folded it up, and they are triangles. Therefore, it is some type of pyramid. When you look in the middle, you see a triangle, so it is a triangular pyramid. Make sure that you are following all the directions and that you're doing your very best to put this information into your notebook.